and kind of the schooling and stuff that I went through. So my name's Dennis Arbogast, and I'm a civil engineer, and I work for a company called AECom, and it's a very large company that we were bought out. I was in a smaller company, and it's a worldwide company, one of the largest engineering firms in the world, with over 100,000 employees, which is kind of mind-boggling. But my world's much smaller. But I started out after high school. I went to Colorado State University and got a degree in forestry. I thought that was something that I would want to do, and I had liked the outdoors, and kind of made sense a little bit for me at that time. And I got my degree, and I worked in forestry type jobs for a while, and felt I wasn't really getting the opportunities that I wanted, or yeah, go ahead.
What is forestry?
Forestry. Okay, so forestry, yeah, like people think of like forest rangers and that kind of thing, but it's really managing forests. You know, there's timber companies, there's the national parks and national forest type jobs where people look after the natural resources, and you know, you think of the logging and paper companies, that the people who make decisions and manage those kinds of resources are in forestry, and there's other things people can do, but that's kind of what that is. It's a science degree, mostly focused on you know, plants, a lot of biology and that sort of thing. So that's what the forestry was about. And I worked at that for a while and felt I wasn't really getting the opportunities that I had hoped for. And I went back to school, and I went to the Colorado School of Mines in Golden and got a degree, a second bachelor's degree there in civil engineering. So when civil engineering, think of civilization. And so civil is the buildings and roads and utilities and infrastructure that makes our cities. So it's a pretty broad sort of degree, but that's kind of the focus. And so I had this bachelor's of science in engineering from mines, and started working as a surveyor, and looked at and then developed more engineering skills. So again, you don't usually think about a lot of civil engineering things. If sometimes we say if we do everything right, you don't notice anything, because it's the roads, it's water pipes, utilities under the ground, storm sewers, you know, where the water goes when it rains, sanitary infrastructure, where that sanitary goes to get to treatment plants, and it's the kind of building things that you see. You know, there's a lot of building always around downtown here, around the campus. Here is got a lot going on, and so civil engineers play a role in those kinds of projects. And I've been involved a lot in land development. So that's, you guys are familiar with the Lowry development, I believe. It used to be an Air Force base, and they closed that, and I was involved for about 7 years with that project in converting the Air Force base to the city, that an extension of the city that's there now. And then in about 2001, we got work with the Stapleton redevelopment. So that was the old airport, and that's where the DSST campus is. So so that closed as an airport. And then there's a whole process of looking at that land, deciding what it should become, taking steps to formalize the land. Where are the roads going to be? Where are the houses going to be? How are the utilities going to be laid out? How are we going to build it from one side to the other? You can't do everything at once, so you look at things in phases and try to build it like a big puzzle. And that's been a wonderful job that's transformed most of that area. So that was 15 years ago that I got involved with that, and we're still going. And we're now way up north. Stapleton goes from the DSST campus or there on Montview, way up to Dick's Sporting Goods Park, just east of there. That's the area that's now getting built. So it's been a very interesting project that puts all these things together, and we work closely with the city and other agencies, because what we design and build for infrastructure gets turned over to the city, and they have to accept it. So it's been very interesting. I did bring a drawing here that will give you a little bit of an idea of how these things all fit together, and it looks just like a puzzle, but this is good. So this is Quebec Street, and this is Montview Boulevard. The big park out at Stapleton, the Central Park, is here. The sledding hill and stuff is there. So some of you guys live out there, don't you? Or anybody? No? Okay. Well, anyway, it's I don't know if you've got a chance to go out there, but it's really changed a lot in the last 10 or 15 years, and what was an airport are now homes for more than 12,000 homes, and so that's about 35,000 people have moved into that area, and we've been involved in the design of that. And this is a look at all the different lots, individual properties that we have to design, and we get those all ready for home builders to come in, and then they build the houses, and it becomes a community. So there's a lot of thought that goes into the configuration of how's traffic going to work, where are the schools going to be, where are places to gather, parks, are there parks close by that are small, are there parks that are a little further away that are much larger, so you can do bigger things like soccer fields and fountains, or just big wide open spaces, places to experience things. So it all goes together in a lot of thought works together to make this community. And we have things that, one part of engineering that you might not realize is that, for instance, there's a drainage way called Westerly Creek that goes through the project. And when it was an airport, and airports like to be flat, and it's great for runways and airplanes and that kind of thing, but it doesn't do a very good job of carrying stormwater and drainage. So there were some inadequate underground pipes that worked okay for the airport, but they really didn't work for a new land use or a new community that would be built in the area. So we did a lot of earthwork, and they scooped out this alignment and basically recreated a creek that maybe was there historically, but had been flattened and wiped out by the airport. So this is Westerly Creek, and that not only is it a park, it does the function of the conveying stormwater and rain runoff to Sand Creek in a safe way that doesn't impact the houses around it, and it creates this linear park through there. So that's an amenity as well as a function, and that's a lot of what we try to do is make it work well for the residents and the businesses, and make it fit together well. So that's where the thinking comes in, and I enjoy it. It's I've always liked solving problems and fixing things like you guys do here. You're figuring things out, and there's always that challenge of getting a situation and solving the issues and then getting that approved, and then it's really rewarding in something like this to see things built that you can walk around and drive around, and I had a part in that I helped with that project, so that gives you a good sense of accomplishment and all. So what's important in being good at engineering or really kind of any technical field that you want to go into is obviously being good at the nuts and bolts or the technical parts of what your skill is, becoming an expert in that piece of your work. But it's also don't discount communication, and don't discount writing and that kind of thing. You get situations where you need to work with other people, communicate clearly and well. You need to write reports. You need to summarize your work and plan things. Be able to speak verbally with other people and negotiate things, that kind of deal. So I know I've got two daughters. One's 21 and one's 18 or 19, and it's easy to see how and I remember doing this too, was that you're going on and saying, I can't believe that I'll ever use whatever I'm doing in this class. And there's, maybe it's a public speaking class, or maybe it's a writing class or something. You think, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm kind of tuning out. I'm just going to go through the motions, and I'm going to check this off and go on. But there really are pieces of everything that you do that integrate into your skills and to what you can later on apply to situations that you come in contact with. And I've had been to a lot of classes, and most of the colleges in the state, it seems like. I went to Metro for a while, I went to UCE, went to Mines, went to CSU. So there's been a lot of time in classes, but I think I got something from each one of those places that that can now and then be knowledge that I can contribute to what I'm doing. And even the forestry that I went through, well, that's a long ways from engineering, but there's times when we're talking about landscaping in a park or someplace, and I don't know what they're talking about because I know types of trees and I know the plants and that kind of background that I had from my forestry can make me a better engineer when I need to evaluate landscape architecture and put that together with our projects. So, you know, it sounds like an old guy giving fatherly advice, but you know, there are good lessons to learn, but that's kind of a background on the kinds of things I'm doing, and there's just so many angles to all the technical professions. You know, it's I've been talking about civil engineering, but you know, you can be electrical engineers or aeronautical, and even within civil, I could be a water resources engineer. I could be a structural engineer, work with bridges and buildings or architects, and so you can develop a specialty based on what really interests you the most. And sometimes it's just what you're exposed to, like maybe your first couple of jobs out of school, or maybe a couple of your favorite classes start to steer you in a direction that gives you a lot of interest in something, and so follow your interests and don't be afraid to try different things. And I think it's really valuable to try to do internships, to do hands-on things, to get exposed to that sort of real world view of these professions, and then you'll understand more about, first of all, about how school can contribute to your career, and you'll start to get a feel for what other options are out there. So I'm kind of rambling, but what are you guys interested in? What kind of questions do you have about just technical careers or anything?
Do you get to name the streets, or are there other?
Do I get to name it? Some cities let the developer figure out the names of the streets. A lot of times, like in Denver, you're next to other parts of the city that have already been developed. So the idea is to continue those streets so it's easy to get around, and so there's a whole kind of scheme for you know, numbered streets are east-west and named streets are kind of north-south, but every now and then we get to name stuff. I don't have my name on this project yet, but we'll keep trying, I guess. I got a few more years to find something.
Can you get your name on something if you pay for it? Like if you, let's say you fund like a building, like a certain individual. Can
yeah, they can. You mean for naming?
Yeah, for naming, yeah.
Yeah, there's certainly there's names that get maybe for a particular park or a school or something like that. So it's famous people, or like you say, if there's people who have donated a lot of money to help a project happen, can get their name on a project. Yeah, that can happen. What else? What are you guys interested in here? Doing electronics this summer, or being exposed to a little circuitry? And
Yeah, so they're doing all kinds of projects that they decided to work on.
And you guys are in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
11th grade, 12th grade?
Mostly sophomores and juniors.
Okay. All right. So this is good exposure. It's good that you're here for the extra work and the extra benefit that you're gonna get out of this kind of class. You think you'll go to college? That kind of in the plans for most of you? It's expensive, but there really is a demand for technical skills and engineering type degrees. You guys are going through this at a great time. The time is really good. There's a lot of people my age or a little older that are looking at retirement pretty soon and going to drop out of the workforce. That creates a whole lot of demand for new people coming in, and good technical skills are in high demand to replace these people who are leaving and bring along the next next most experienced people to kind of fill in those upper management type positions or more experienced positions. So it's great. It's a good time that you'll the pay is pretty good. You don't want to focus entirely on what you're going to get paid, but the fact is that technical degrees and skills are pretty well paid, and that gives you good opportunity as well. So look for, like I said, internships and involve yourself with events or groups that might give you more exposure to people in that career, or more exposure to just what that career is about. Volunteer, do that kind of stuff. So, any other ideas or thoughts that you want? Any questions about engineering type stuff?
Yeah, so let's say you're in an interview. Is it a good idea to negotiate pay on your first interview?
Yeah, there'll be a range of pay usually that you know is there. I think it's usually good to get started and show your skills. So I would say, in the middle of your career, then you can be in a little more of if you're changing jobs or something, then you would maybe be in a position where you would say, well, I think my skills are worth a little more, or I'm going to take on more responsibility. But from an employer standpoint, it's best, it feels best to see somebody perform well and reward them for it, rather than to have someone say, well, I think I ought to be up here, and they haven't necessarily proved themselves.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of show us what you got, and that leads to advancement, and you will get rewarded with more pay. So again, I don't like to see engineers and people who are real focused on the pay. Certain types of engineering pay different than others. If you're a software engineer, or compared to a civil engineer or a mechanical engineer, there's different kind of ranges of pay in some of that. But I think going in, it's always good to just have a job, get a job, and show them what you got. And then after a while, if you're not being recognized for doing well, then you can bring it up, and you can say, well, look, here's how I see what I'm doing. But it's good to always keep a good dialogue going with your bosses or your supervisor, and then they know how you feel.
Yeah.
Or they can tell you how they perceive your work, and if you've got some strengths or weaknesses to work on.
So let's say you're not being recognized, right? And it's a good idea to like keep track of what you've accomplished throughout the entire time, so you can bring it up on those meetings.
Yeah, that's a good thing to do. Definitely, have a lot of companies, the bigger companies have more structure to how they work, but we go through a couple times a year, we go with each employee, we look at how they're doing. We prepare evaluations, we look at goals. What do you want to do? What do we want you to do? What can you do in terms of additional training or certifications? There's if you're an engineer, you can, after a certain amount of work, I think it's usually about 4 years of working in the field or in a job as a young engineer, you can take a test and become a professional engineer. So then you're a PE, and PEs can advance higher. You can begin to manage projects, and you get a stamp, and that stamp means quite a bit, because it's you put it on a document, say a design drawing, that's telling somebody how to build something. You put your stamp on it and you sign it, and you are certifying that you designed that to the best of your ability, to the standards that it's supposed to be designed to. Basically it's going to work, and that's what it takes to get plans approved. So keep track of how you're doing, and you can kind of keep it's like having a resume. It's kind of in draft form or something. It's good to just kind of drop in your accomplishments and then say, I worked on a certain project, or I was able to solve certain problems, and I've received certain training. So yeah, keep track of those kind of things. Those are